Welcome to Project-Based Python. These tutorials will not cover Python basics in depth. If you need help with the basics, you can try PyLearning Companion. It is a Python study app that covers all the core concepts in short lessons, then tests your skills with hundreds of activities. PyLearning Companion is available on Android and iOS. You can find the links in the video description. Today we will create a phrase guessing game similar to Hangman. We will use dictionaries, loops, and if statements. The program will present the user with an encoded phrase, which they have to decode by guessing letters. Let's get started. We will start by creating a secret phrase, and we're going to save that secret phrase in the variable called answer. And for the secret phrase, we will say this is the secret phrase. Now we're going to create another variable, which is going to be my answer. And that variable is going to hold stars instead of letters. That way we can show the user how much progress they have made by guessing letters. It will look something like this. So we'll have this is the, and so on. So we will make sure that there are spaces to allow the user to see how many words there are. To accomplish this, we are going to use a dictionary and another string. So first, my answer dictionary will equal an empty dictionary, and then my answer will equal an empty string. We are going to create a for loop now to iterate through the answer and then create entries in the dictionary that we will then use to create my answer. So this will make more sense in a minute. For I in range len answer. Now this is going through the answer, and I is going to take on the index value of each character in the answer. We are then going to use that I as the key in our dictionary. So if answer I, first we're going to look for spaces. If answer I equals a space, we will update the dictionary. So my answer dictionary update, and we will use I as the key and a space as the value. So we're updating the dictionary with I and space. We will also update my answer. So my answer plus equals and just a space. If the character that we're looking at is not a space, if it is a letter, we're going to enter a star as the value. So else my answer dictionary update, and I as the key, and then star as the value, and also my answer plus equals star. So let's see what that looks like. We will just print answer, then we will print my answer, and we will print the dictionary just so we can see that too. So here we go. We have, this is the secret phrase. We have stars that match each individual letter. We have spaces where they should be. And then down here we have the full dictionary, which has key values of index value 0 for T, 1 for H, and so on. They're stars at the moment, but we can use these key values to later update the stars to actually display the letters. Now let's get rid of these print statements because we don't need them any longer, and we will create a few more variables that we will use. So first, guessed letters will equal an empty string for now. We will use this variable to hold all of the different letters that the user has guessed. Then we need count, and we'll set that to equal 0. We will use the count to keep track of how many guesses the user has made. And now we need multiple letters, and this will start as false. And we will use this boolean to check that the user is only entering one letter at a time. We don't want them guessing 5 letters at a time because that would be cheating. So next, let's have a print statement that kind of tells the user what to do. We can say print, can you decipher the text? And then we will print the encoded text, so my answer, which will be made up of only stars. And if I run this, we get, can you decipher the text? And we get all of these stars. Now let's create the while loop and start getting some user input. So while count is smaller than 10, so we are doing this to make sure that the user doesn't keep guessing. We will first reset our answer. So my answer needs to equal an empty string here. It starts off with all of those stars, and we will reset it every time we iterate through the while loop, and then we will populate it later on. So now we need to check if the user has entered multiple letters. We don't want that to be the case. So if not multiple letters, we can proceed, and we will try to get the full answer here. So we will say guess answer equals input, guess the full text. So we're giving the user a chance to guess the full phrase before they start guessing letters. And now we need to check if that guess is correct. So if guess answer equals answer, we will print you win, and we will also break out of the loop. All right, and let's add one more line here. We will just say else print incorrect guess. And let's test this out. So we have, can you decipher the text? We have all of those stars, and let's say no. So incorrect guess, and we try again. So let me guess correctly here. So this is the secret phrase. And there it is, you win. Next, we are going to get the user to guess individual letters. So first, we're going to set multiple letters to equal false, because we no longer need that, and we want it to reset after we perform this check. Now we will get a guess, and that will be another input, and we will say guess a letter. Once we have that letter from the user, we will check how long their guess is. So this is where the multiple letters Boolean comes into play. We're going to check if the guess is only one character long. If it is, we will proceed. Otherwise, we will deal with the multiple letters later. So first, we will check the length. So if len guess is 1, we are going to create a loop now to populate the dictionary and then the answer. So for I in range len answer, we're doing the same thing as we did up top. So for each character in answer, if that character, so answer I, equals the guess that the user has guessed, we need to update the dictionary. So my answer dictionary dot update, and we will use the I as the key, and then we will use guess as the value. So this will replace any star. So if the guess equals a letter in the answer, the dictionary will then replace the stars by those letters. And once we have that done, we need to create another for loop. So for I in my dictionary, or my answer dictionary, my answer plus equals my answer dictionary, and then I. So here what we're doing is we are going through each entry in the dictionary. We are adding each one of those values to our answer. And let's print both of those to the screen just so we can see what we have here. So we will print my answer and we will print my dictionary. So let's run this. We have, can you decipher the text? We have the encoded text. Let's say no for now. And then we have guess a letter. So I will try T. And you can see we have all of the T's that are in the answer. They are no longer stars, they are T's. And then in our dictionary, we can see that in the answer, index value 0 is now set to T. It is not a star any longer. Let's remove these two print statements now because we don't really want them to show up in our game, and we need to tab in to get inside of this if statement. The next thing we're going to do is compare our answer to the correct answer. We're doing that because technically the user could enter something wrong up here, but have guessed all of the letters that are in the answer, which would then display the full answer to them. So they will win by default. And this is simple. We will just say if my answer equals answer, we will print my answer so we can show them the full phrase. We will print you win, and we will also break out of the while loop and finish the game. Next, we are going to handle the guessed letters. So we want to update the guessed letters to show the user which letters they have guessed. And the first thing we need to do is check the length of guessed letters. So if len guessed letters equals 0, we will do one thing, and if it is larger than 0, we will do another thing. What I mean by that is if there have been no other guesses before, we just add the letter. If there are other guesses present, we want to add a comma, a space, and then the letter. So here we will just say guessed letters plus equals guess. Now, like I said, if the length is longer than 0, we will update guessed letters with plus equals. We will use a comma and a space, and then plus guess. So this will make it look a little bit nicer. The next thing we need to do is print my answer, and then we will print all of the guessed letters. So print, and we'll use a formatted string here, so F, and we'll just say guessed letters, and we need to pass that variable in here. All right, and let's test this out. So we have, can you decipher the text? And we have it here in stars. Guess the full text. I will say no. And then guess a letter. So we will try T. We get all of the letters updated here. We have the displayed guessed letters. So we just have a T here. Let's do one more round, and let's say H. And you notice that we update it, and then we also update the guessed letters, and here we add a comma and a space. Let me have one more guess, and I will guess a letter that is not in the phrase. And we can see that the letter is not added here because it's not part of our string, but the guessed letters are updated. So we have guessed THQ. Okay, we're almost done. So all that's left to do is we need to update our count. So we will increase the count by 1. Then we will display how many guesses remain, and we will only do that if the count is smaller than 10. So count, or if count smaller than 10, print, and we'll use a formatted string, and we will just subtract the count from 10 so that this number will always change, and we'll say guesses remaining. And then we need to handle the multiple letters, or the multiple letters. So remember, up here we are checking the length of our guess, and if that length is 1, we will handle all of this. But if that length is not 1, so if it is multiple letters and I guess 0, we will create an else statement, and we'll print please enter only one letter. So that will cover that, and we also need to set multiple letters to equal true. We also need, or we don't need it, but we will add a print statement down here to indicate that the game is over. So once we are done with everything, we will display game over. And let's just test this. So we will get the, can you decipher the text? We have all the stars. I will say no for now. Guess a letter, and let me guess multiple letters here. We get please enter only one letter, and notice we don't update the guessed letters, we don't increase the count, none of that stuff happens because the guess is not valid. So now we will guess another letter. So let's just say P, and it is updated in our string. We get the guessed letters, and we have 9 guesses remaining. So let's do a few more. We'll just say no, and I will guess E, no, and I will guess H. So we can see that the text is updating. We can see that the guessed letters are updating, and let's now guess the full phrase. So this is the secret phrase, and there it is. You win, game over. So now that we have a fully functional game, let me show you a few things that you can do as an extension to this. First of all, let's change this phrase. Let's just say hello there and test it out to show that everything works. You can see that the number of stars has changed. Guess the full text. I will say no, and let's try L, and everything works as it should. So I'll say hello there, and you win, game over. So that part works. Now, one thing that you could do as an extension is you could create a list. So we could do something like answers equals and have a list. And then here we can have something and something else, or another phrase, and so on. So you could create a list of phrases here and then randomly choose one of these phrases and set that phrase to equal the answer. So this game can be made much more interesting that way, but we are not going to cover that here. We are just going to leave it as is. If you have enjoyed this tutorial, make sure to like and subscribe. Also check out PyLearning Companion. The link is in the video description. You can also find the source code below.